All right. So before we get started, I'll need the results of both incentives.
Let me get one last refresh just to make sure. All right, I do have both of those. So the name of Kite will be Grandma. And we'll be using the Japanese voice acting today.
Yes!
Thank you for whoever donated for that.
The weebs win again. All right, so time will start when I hit new game, and the game opens with a solid 3 minutes of just text mashing, so I'll have plenty of time to explain what the go is. But yeah, so I'll hit new game in 3, 2, 1, go.
Now, of course, this is an RPG run. We're not going to have the time to explain the plot, the setting, anything like that. And that's Grandma Kite.
Yeah, no, I'm doing player. I'm doing character, not character name, username.
Because we have the real character, the real person, and we have the in-game name. As you know, they should not be the same thing.
And the reason I don't have username as an incentive is because we just don't see it. Like, it shows up in the in-game credits and no other point in the game. All right, so this is .hack Infection, the first in a very long series of games made by CyberConnect 2 and published by Bandai. You might know CyberConnect 2 as those guys who make every single Naruto arena fighter on the planet. They don't get to do much else these days, but everything they've made that isn't licensed tends to be pretty friggin' good.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This was kind of the one that put them on the map because this was a real multimedia, manga, anime, games, the works.
Yeah, all right. So, to explain what's going on in the plot, we won't be going into huge detail about it, but again, this opens with just so much mashing that I have a ton of time to explain. So, yes, we play as Kite, or in this case, Grandma. He is a kid who's just been invited to start this MMO by his best friend Yasuhiko, or Orca, who is an extremely well-known player in this game. So he's just going to walk us through it and give us a basic tutorial before things get pretty derailed about 3 minutes in.
Yeah, Orca, also known as Sir Not Appearing in This Game.
Or the game after this, or the game after that, but he does show up at the very end of the fourth one. You know, 100 hours of game time in.
So this is where the game actually starts. You can see we have to do the basic input testing, and in just a second we'll have our first RNG. We'll be checking how fast we can get how many hits on an enemy.
So, this first enemy that we're about to encounter, bare minimum is, it's either 3 if you get high rolls or 4 if you don't get high rolls. I average 10. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, place your bets now, because the accuracy in this game is a doozy of a stat. Half the time you will be missing, but there are ways to work around that, and we'll show that as it comes up.
1,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 5 misses in a row. So this seeds the whole run, by the way. So if you get it good, you're set.
Yeah, so for reference, that's the accuracy unbuffed. We will be using accuracy buffs for 99% of the game because it's terrible otherwise. So the interesting thing about this game is that it is it's a strange fusion of both real-time and well, yeah, not real-time. So like overworld movement and combat is all real-time, but as soon as I go into the menus, time pauses. This is extremely important for some fights because if they were real-time, I would just get destroyed.
It is made in the style of an MMO, a la Phantasy Star Online, but of course the PS2 not really having that many onlines.
Which is why it looks like a Dreamcast game despite being on the PS2.
It was a very early PS2 game, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very early.
Yeah, it was really, really early. I remember getting this Very fun game, but definitely a very strange one.
So we just skipped a cutscene there, but basically the gist of it is we're walking through this dungeon and we see a strange girl in a white dress getting chased by a gigantic monster. We won't see either of them because, well, we'll see the monster because he's the final boss, but we won't see the girl because she only shows up in cutscenes. So if, you know, we do see her, it means I'm not mashing fast enough. And the next spot of RNG we've got here is that at the bottom of every dungeon there is a box. It has an equipment item and 2 treasures in it. That's good. So the 2 treasures can be any one of 3 items. The grunt doll is the absolute worst thing we can get. The yellow candy is the best thing we can get. And then there's the rainbow card, which is mid. So I just skipped 3 cutscenes in a row there. Basically, the game pulled an SAO, and Yasuhiko died in the game and is now in a coma in real life. Where he will remain for, you know.
For a time.
For eternity, because nobody runs the game where you wake him up.
Right, there was some theorizing about how long it would take to actually do all the games in a row. What would that be, a 10-hour run?
It'd be longer than that.
You could be the first.
The problem is we don't really know because the only person who's routed quarantine is Japanese.
And there is a strong difference between the Japanese and English games. The first game, you see the speed that we move at here. Is that the Japanese speed?
No. So the interesting thing about these games is that let me just I'll explain trade in a second as well.
I'll talk here. In true MMO style, the first thing we do is log on and we start scamming people for their goods and services. So we've just traded a few items for things that are definitely far better than they should be.
The thing is, I was expecting to not get the trades immediately. Like I normally, oh my god, I did that with menuing completely without thinking about it, didn't I? Jesus. Yeah, so normally the trades don't go that well. I've got an entire list of all of the backups here in case they don't go well because I was fully expecting them to not be done in the first 5 seconds.
The people who show up in the world there are picked from a huge pool of just random players. Some of them have the items that you want, and some of them trade for things that are more favorable to you. So we just got really lucky. Sometimes you actually have to log out and back in and hope that, you know, better people are online. So good luck here.
More cutscenes. The game will start proper in a second, I swear.
It is an RPG.
It's an MMO at that. It's like, has anyone played A Realm Reborn before they patched out all of the filler content? Because goddamn.
Even without the filler content, A Realm Reborn is very long, so.
Oh my god.
Wow, was that ray traced? Famous PS2 ray tracing.
All right, so as you can see, we've changed color. During that cutscene, we were attacked by a bugged enemy that could not be killed by regular means, but the girl who showed up in that cutscene I skipped gave us an item that allows us to rewrite the data of enemies, which allows us to kill unkillable enemies, but it's also, you know, caused Grandma's appearance to change to reflect this. And it also kind of marks him as a hacker because it's an appearance that you're not supposed to be able to normally get, so everyone's kind of like, okay, what's the deal with this guy? Something I didn't mention is that a good chunk of the, you know, because this game is a game within a game, it's an MMO within a game, a good amount of the like gameplay flags are hit by logging out and checking the in-universe boards and your emails. So there will be a lot of times where, in order to progress the plot, I just need to quickly log out and check a few things.
So if you think you're good at Kingdom Hearts, if you like menuing, check this out.
Don't play it on emulator, though.
Well, in the emulated category, well, no, on the speedrun leaderboards, we actually do allow on-console emulated the works, right?
Yes. because the ladder-free games are so expensive that we kind of didn't want to price gate people out. But nobody runs Quarantine anyway, so... Just, yeah. Well, you know, better to get the menuing flubs out of the way now instead of when it'll get me killed.
What's Quarantine up to these days? I know it's like a famously expensive PS2 game.
It depends if you get the whole game as well.
Yeah, it depends on if you... So, all 4 of the games are shipped with a bonus anime disc. Said anime disc is the reason why Quarantine runs a pretty penny, because it unintentionally got the rating bumped after it released, so they had to pull it. I'm pretty sure is how the story goes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't buy that, you don't get the whole plot.
No.
So for anybody that's curious, when this game came out, you actually would get 2 discs. You'd get 1 disc that would have the game on it. The second disc would just have an anime OVA of about 25 minutes called Dot Hack Liminality. They really went all in on this series, trying to make it like across everything. Like there's light novels, there's manga, anime, video games. Really, really cool series.
Yeah, so the series is, like, the games are broken up into 2 main series. You've got IMOQ, which is Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine. It's technically just called Dot Hack, but for the sake of differentiation, we just refer to it as IMOQ. And then there's GU, which is the sequel series, which is also on PS2, and that one got a remaster back in 2017, 2018, I want to say.
Sounds about right.
That one's pretty readily available, but the originals sadly are not. But there was a anime series that takes place before these games, and then there's an anime series that takes place before GU, and then there's the anime series that's packaged in with this one. There's a lot of anime.
And then there's the crossover and cross zone. I'm sure that counts for the canon. It probably is canon.
I hope it's not canon. All right, so now we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the gameplay. As I mentioned before, we are going to be using buffs. Which are these bloods? I bought a bunch of them. They are buffs for most of the game. I believe, so one of the people who've done most of the rounding for this game is Hatchet. And I believe they told me once that the bloods give you roughly 5 levels in a given stat. Like 5 levels worth of stat, I guess, for lack of a better.
And this will go over the stat cap as well.
Yes. The other thing we are doing now is we are using data drain on enemies that we get a protect break on. So protect break kicks in when you damage an enemy enough using either physical attacks or magic attacks, but not both.
Depending on the enemy, is it?
Each enemy has a different, like each enemy just has a different threshold for when protect break kicks in, depending on what they are. So, you know, most of the time we'll be going for physical hits because we don't have much of the way in magic until much later. So the reason we are data draining things is for 2 reasons. One, well, just flat out, it makes the enemy into a weaker version of itself. So this can be pretty helpful for safety. But the main reason we're doing it is because every time we data drain an enemy, we gain either a piece of equipment that we can sell for money because we need a lot of money to make it through this game, or we get a core. And we also need a lot of cores to make it through the end of the game. So this thing is a bit of an RNG nightmare in that you need kind of 2 entirely different strings of luck to both be good in order to finish a run.
And of course we have backup strategies to kind of recover from most anything that goes wrong. Level should be set. We've got a pretty excellent strategy to make sure that we stay at the level we need to. But in terms of the key items that we need to finish the game, they only get put into inventory when we data drain. So we need to manage how often we do that, and manage our XP, and manage all the drops. Make sure that we, on average, get everything that we need. Do you want me to explain the cores, or?
Yes, please explain the cores.
Yeah. So The cause of those items that we get from data draining, we actually haven't gotten any yet.
We've gotten one.
Oh, we have, okay.
We've gotten exactly one.
At certain points through the game, we will need to have these items that we can only get through the data drain. But the data drain mechanic has a central kind of, almost like a stamina gauge. If you use it too often, things start going wrong. If you use it far too often, it instantly game overs. So you have an infection rating that governs what kind of effects happen when you drain someone. We want to keep that as low as possible while maximizing how many drains that we get. So it's a fine balancing act. Hopefully, we should be able to get enough goods and cores that we don't need to drain too much.
It is a fine balancing act, but at the end of the day, it's entirely down to what the game gives me as to whether runs finish or not, which is why I've got so many backups. Well, yeah, okay, there's an example of things going wacky. There are good effects in the pool of things that can happen, but there aren't very many of them, and they stop showing up if you get your infection rating high enough. So it's generally... just making sure, yeah. It's generally recommended to not be risking that.
And of course, because when we drain an enemy, it sets them back to level 1. We get absolutely no XP out of it. So sometimes we actually do want to keep them at a higher level.
So this is a field map. The game has a very detailed word system that I like to refer to it as the Twitch clip name generator. It's incredibly complex. It's really, it's just really difficult to explain. But basically, it's a set of words that generate a map based on the parameters. There's a couple of hard overrides here or there, but for the most part, it's just far too we'd be here for 40 minutes alone if I was explaining that.
It's a seeding system.
Yeah. And so what happened with that spring there was we threw in the leather gloves that we started with. That we, one of the trades is to get a better pair of gloves so we can unequip those gloves so we can throw them in a drink and get a piece of equipment that gives us a magical spell that we will be using a lot later on. I have been whiffing those guys a lot today.
So we have these gates here that can either spawn enemies or they can spawn a chest. We want to have usually...
Oh, that's not good.
Ah, yes, our infection rating was up there, so we got a random effect. That one was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, that one's fine, but I'm not gonna... I'm just gonna kill things for a bit instead of risking that.
Yeah, we just need to play normal for a while.
So, how the infection rating kind of scales, I guess, for lack of a better word, is that if you defeat an enemy that is higher level than you, the infection rating will go down a lot. But conversely, if you data drain an enemy that is a lot higher level than you, your infection rating will go up by more. So we generally, the reason I'm not data draining those bird enemies is because they're a higher level than me, and it will just mess up my infection rating for a while if I do that. It's just not worth it. So the item I got there from those eggs is a burning oil. I get that entirely for safety reasons for a boss later on. Normally you, if you're going for RTA or PB or whatever, normally you wouldn't get that, but it's certainly worth getting in. Oh boy.
All right, that was our first debuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to remember that. Buy an extra Warrior's Blood later.
Do you want to explain why you're walking at the doors when they're opening?
Yeah, so a bunch of the doors have... Thank you, Black Rose. A bunch of the doors have a weird hitbox where if you walk into them instead of run into them, you can enter them sooner. It's not all of them. I don't even think those ones count for it. I just kind of do it on reflex. So this is our first data bug. As you can see, the HP total isn't displayed because it's bugged. It's not supposed to be killable, but you can still protect break it, and once that happens, we can use data drain on it and turn it back into a regular enemy that we can kill. The thing with the boss fights in this game is that the drops from them are set. Like, you're guaranteed to get cores you need from them. And here we have the best character in all of the games.
And she'll be helping us out a lot.
So the mage class in the original 4 games is so overpowered that when the sequel series came along, they split the mage class into 2 separate classes so they wouldn't be as OP. Because they can do just a full shebang. Like, they're really good DPS, they can also heal, and because they're mages, they stay out of the way of things so they don't get destroyed either. So they're just really good on the whole. I lied, he is actually the best character in all of the series.
So while we're in this cutscene, do we have some time for some quick donations?
Yes.
So we have a $53 donation. That was the what put us into another donation for the Japanese voice acting. We had an in-person $20 donation. That's the donation that named us Grandma. So again, thank you all for your generous donations. We have a $10 donation from, I always struggle to say it when you put it in your name, but Richard said, big hearts to Ghoul from the other side of the world. Best of luck at the event with a heart emoji. Thank you, Richard. And lastly, we have a $40 anonymous donation with no comment. Again, thank you all so much for your donations. They're going towards a fantastic cause. And of course, this incredible speedrun by Synrey.
So I had to buy an extra buff there because of the debuff I got in the previous dungeon. And it's just kind of how the cookie crumbles if you get debuffs this early on. Later on, we'll have enough of a kind of stack of them. I forgot to bring Mistral. Oh my god. So, due to this being, you know, an MMO within a game, your party members are basically just people you meet who are just like, yeah, you know, add me to your friends list. I'll, you know, come along. You seem interesting.
And unlike real life, they're always there, aren't they?
No.
Oh, just like real life, they're never there.
So a good chunk of the, you know, if you're playing this game casually, most of your party members, you'll actually get them from doing side quests based on, like, you'll just check the boards and they'll be like, you know, oh, hey, I need help doing something. And then you help this person and they'll be like, oh, sweet, I'll join your friends list and you can take me along for adventures. The thing is, in every other game, we actually do this because the best physical attacking class in the game is the spear users, but we can't get any of them until a point in the... For Infection, we can't get any of them until a point in the game where they're just not helpful anymore. But in every other... In all 3 of the other games in this series, we go for them because they are unlocked straight away. We don't have to wait around for them. So there isn't a heap going on in this dungeon because I'm just gonna be melting all of the enemies away until I hit level 4, which I haven't been keeping tabs on my EXP, so I'm not sure. Okay, there it is. That happened early, for once. So now I can just freely data drain everything else in the dungeon without issue.
The level here can be a real toss-up as well, because if we get too many chest spawns or too little enemies, then the game goes fast. We get a PB on the time, but then we don't have enough levels. So it's deceptive that over the course of the whole run, you don't want to have too good luck. You don't want to have no enemies spawn.
Because you'll have like a -3 on an early split, and then you'll get to end game and you'll be wasting 6 minutes for grinding. Like, it's a balancing act for sure. The other problem is that some of the effects that can happen when you data drain somebody, you can lose a chunk of EXP, which can also set you back down a fair ways. That was pretty unlucky on the whole with the spawns there. Just a whole bunch of chests, so, you know, that's not good. So, Pyros here has asked us to come to the bottom of this dungeon and watch him beat a monster that's been bullying him. But unfortunately, he's never gonna beat it because it's a monster with ridiculous physical defense and he doesn't have magic.
Oh, that was fast.
We, on the other hand, do have magic, so we just melt it and, you know, he acts like he beat it and then pieces out, but not before giving us his address so we can call him up whenever. And we will also be using him for a fair chunk of the game because he's the he's just the second best physical attacker we've got access to. We do get another physical attacker later, but she's just not very good. Sorry to any Catgirl fans out there, but Mia's just not great. So this is the second shop in the game, and those emails I checked there are the admins are cottoning on to the fact that, you know, something's wrong with Grandma here. Like, they're able to do things that they should not be able to do. So they're trying to give him an item that'll overwrite his character data and reset it, but like, we can try using it and it won't work. So, you know, whatever we've got is stronger than anything the admins can put together.
And the money routing is something quite important here as well. We could buy tons and tons of certain stuff, but we need to balance it out so that we don't end up with too little money, too little cash.
Well, the thing with buying mage souls there is that that's the main thing that well, not the main thing I need towards the end of the run, but the more mage souls I have throughout the run, the better, because it means I'm not waiting on my SP to regen, so I can just keep using skills. It just saves time, but it's also one of those things where the amount of souls you get is entirely up to fate because it depends on your drains. All right, first safety save of the run, because the boss at the end of the next dungeon is a potential choke point. We have to go into this dungeon solo, and if I get an effect on the data drain at the end of the area and get one where it's, so there's a bunch of status effects as well, we haven't seen them yet, but if I get confused, charmed, paralyzed, or sleep on the boss, I will just die and there's nothing I can do about it. It's pretty unlikely because my infection rating should be 0, but it's a non-zero chance, unfortunately. It's a
In all the
thanks, CyberConnect.
In all the practice you did it show up once?
It showed up once.
And that's scary.
It showed up in my last run before coming down here, so yikes.
Yeah, we get that out of the way. And for those of you who've never used a computer before, this is what a virus looks like, right? You can see the binary, all that stuff. It's just coming apart.
Please stop with the boxes.
I do love the glitch effects in this game, like when the screen glitches and stuff. It is very cool, some of what they tried to do.
Although we do have points where we wonder, oh god, is the cap card freaking out?
So I'm going for another optional drop with the breakables in this dungeon. It's just going to make the boss after the boss at the end of this dungeon a little bit safer. It's not required, so I'm not going to lose sleep over it if I don't get it, but I got it, so whoop-de-doo, I guess. It's just, you know, there's enough kind of potential choke points in this run that I'm going to play it very safe. Thanks for that, Bees. Why did you do that for? pretty good that that antidote dropped there. I really needed that. Worm would have been interesting without it. So Mia's spouting weird philosophy at us. She's the cat that we skipped the cutscene she was in, but basically she's also definitely hacking, because there's no way you can have a cat character in this game without hacking, so it's obvious that there's something going on with her.
There's a lot of really overt hacking going on here, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it is an MMO simulator. They're just trying to be realistic.
So one more floor before the boss floor. So I'm under level for this dungeon, which is why I'm not draining anything. You can theoretically, if you get absurdly lucky with your EXP, like you can hit a high enough level to go for drains without it being an issue, but it doesn't happen often, so I don't lose sleep over it. Also, like, as soon as, well, not as soon as this dungeon's over, but as soon as the next one's over, levels are gonna stop being an issue. Just gonna get this guy out of the way because they can be a problem. So this is the boss. We're swapping back to the more defensive gear I started with, because this boss uses, despite the fact that he's breathing fire at you, it all counts as physical attacks for some reason.
Now, something that you won't notice that's going on the whole time is there's a slight animation cancel whenever you swing the sword. So if you're good, you can get the swings hitting, you know, really fast. I'm pretty sure it's frame perfect or every other frame, but there is a tech to speed up your damage.
Come on. Okay.
Yeah, that was the point before we got a paralysis. And when that happens, he can just wail on you. It's game over.
Oh, and he didn't give me the good drop either, of course. Right, so that was an example of the game deciding to be a jerk and taking a huge chunk of my EXP. We drained that guy twice because out of the 3 drops he can give you, 2 of them are useful. He can either give you a C-core or a piece of like defensive equipment. That means we don't have to buy any later. But he gave me the 3rd drop, which is completely useless, apart from selling. Because of course he did.
Now, was that a rare drop he gave you?
No.
Okay.
That's a common drop.
Because a lot of enemies have, or does every enemy have, a common drop and a rare drop?
A common drop, a rare drop, and a core. So I'm just going to save here too to be safe, because this boss can also be problematic. It's far less likely to be problematic, but seeing as I just took a level down, it's like the chances have skyrocketed.
Yes.
And the party members don't always do a very good job getting you back.
As I mentioned before, Elk is good because he's a Wave Master, which is the mage class, but Mia is terrible, unfortunately. Blade Masters, which is what she is, the single-handed sword users, like the most basic class of them all. Yeah, and she's just terrible, unfortunately, which is why we only ever use her when there's nobody else available or when the plot makes us.
So this is our first use of virus cores. We need 6 A's and how many B's?
6 A's, 10 B's, and 2 C's, but one of the C's is free, so it's technically only 1 C.
So we'll see that menu as we progress through the game. And we're really just going to need to check in on the numbers that it gives us. That'll dictate, how many data drains we go for, how aggressive we are.
Yeah, 4 cores at this point isn't terrible. I would like it to be higher, but I've had worse for sure, so don't have to worry too much yet. Especially since most of the prime spots for getting them are in the kind of middle third of the run. But like, that's what all of my backups are for, in case I get completely trolled on them. So, preferably, we would like to be level 7 by the end of this dungeon. I'm level 6 at the moment. I can tell by how much SP Grandma has. If I was level 7, I'd have 31. We need 30 to use an attack that just melts the boss, but at this rate, I'm unfortunately just going to have to rely on the backup strats, which is using magic instead. It's slightly safer, but it takes a bit longer.
And what are we looking for here?
We are looking for a holy sap. Normally you only check 7 times and you give up, but Tuttle scares me, so I'm probably just gonna... You know, that was fine. I've been there for 5 minutes before.
I've seen it.
About what's the chance of that? Is it like a 1 in 5 or something?
I have no idea, honestly.
Fair enough.
So a thing I haven't touched on yet is you've got 2 menus. You've got your own personal menu, and then you've got the commands menu. The commands menu, it's basically telling your party members to do stuff, because they will not do much unless you tell them to.
And even then, they might just not.
Yeah. So the interesting thing with the telling them to use skills is that if you keep mashing the command over and over again, it resets their cooldown. So there are points later on where we definitely want to be doing that, because they just get damage out so much faster that way. Yes, we did not hit level 7, big shocker.
Right, and we level up every 1,000 XP?
1,000.
So that 400 XP down we got in the last boss was actually pretty big. That's, roughly half of the level.
Yep, so I'm swapping back to the magic build here because we're going to be using magic strats for the boss instead of running up and smacking it. But it's honestly not that much slower anyway. I mean, well, it depends on how lucky I get with the elemental crits, which I don't think we've touched on. So every enemy has an element associated with it.
It's wind, earth, fire,
water, light, dark. Each element is paired off. It's weak to its opposite pair. So Tuttle here is a earth type monster, so it's weak to wind magic, which is what we're spamming here. The skill we would use if we had enough EXP to use it it's basically just a wood skill, but it's physical instead of magical. And Tuttle's got a lower protect break threshold on physical hits than magical, which is why that strat is faster, but I wasn't able to do it there, so no biggie.
And so if you have the super effective type, you have a chance of just getting an elemental crit on any hit, don't you?
Yes, which does more than 2 times damage. I think it's either 3 times or 2.5. In the Japanese version, it's even higher. Which is, if it wasn't astronomically slow to move around in that game. So the main reason we don't run Infection on Japanese is because it's hilariously slow. So our unboosted move speed is the boosted move speed in the Japanese version. It is slow.
So they have their own level of slow.
It probably adds another half an hour to 40 minutes to the run just by walking.
It's telling that for the future ones after
They
infection.
fixed it.
Even for the Japanese ones, we patched the game.
Yep, so I'm just clearing some flags here to unlock the next server and access one of the scariest parts of the run.
Oh, the coolest part, you mean?
Depends on who you ask and how nice the mobs are. So, the interesting thing about how the areas in this game work is that there is no level gating. There is nothing stopping you from going into an area that is like 30 to 40 levels above you. You will get destroyed unless you prep, which is what we're doing here. We're level 7 at the moment. We are going to go into a level 28 area and beat the enemies up from a distance until we hit level 20. It'll only take about 4 minutes if everything goes well.
Game 20 levels in 4 minutes. Game devs hate them with this one weird trick. It's called hacking.
It's not called hacking, it's just called magic is cheap. So I'm gonna leave it to you to explain this one because I have to concentrate,
Yeah,
lest I get 1 or 2 people killed.
So this level, colloquially known as leveling area, is how many levels above us? Like 20, something like that?
So it's 28. It's 21 levels above us at the moment.
So what we're hoping to do is pick up a bunch of enemies that are way out of our level, and then we're going to use
that's a lot of them.
we're going to use AoEs to burn them down. Something really cool that we're going to exploit in this game is a fact that if you get someone in an AoE like that, they're frozen. This is a technique that's going to be really useful for a couple parts in the game. But if you can see here, we catch them inside of it, and as long as we have one person using the AoE at any time, they're stuck there. They can't do anything, so we can kind of just burn them down, and when they start dropping, not only will they give us massive XP, they're also going to level us up to the point where we actually regain quite a lot of XP, quite a lot of SP, so we can kind of just keep doing this until we're, as high as we really want.
It really is wild that magic in this game just doubles the CC for some reason.
It's ridiculous. So another thing there is we don't use the speed up items at the start of this area because the mob that spawns behind us will catch up to us and destroy us before the animation finishes. Which is why the kiting on that first mob can be a little bit iffy because you're not moving as fast as you'd like to.
And in this area, there's a lot of enemies in these portals, but there's also just a lot of them wandering around. So yeah, we're going to just try and get as many as we can in one big clump. If we go too far, they're going to de-aggro, so we kind of need to know how far we can take them.
That was a risky pull.
And then they don't like to stick together quite a lot of the time, which is why we need Mistral here to kind of hold half of them and we'll hold the others. And the PS2 does its best.
Alright, so the other thing I'm going for here is that despite the fact that these enemies are super higher level than us, I won a weapon from one of them, and I just got it, so that's fine. It can be a pretty big problem if those goblins don't drop the item we want, because that weapon we get is what we use for most of the rest of the run. So we kind of need it. But going for it too much will cause our infection rating to just skyrocket because these guys are way stronger than us. And if we can't get that back under control, it can cause pretty big issues for the rest of the run. But they were pretty kind to me there, so we don't have to worry about that.
So how many levels did you make it in just that one little group of enemies?
It's 3 SP per level, so I want to say that might have been 4 or 5. That was bound to be at least 1 box spawn. I'm happy that it was just 1 box spawn.
And Synrey's making this look really easy, but if one of them slips out, particularly these guys, you see it quite a lot, they can and they will one-shot.
Yeah, these guys might not look it, but they're the scariest things here. They will one-shot us. Alright, so that's 3 more levels. So I'm gonna have to pull the last mob for, yeah, all of the last mob instead of just part of it, which is fine. And of course, it's a big one.
Now, is it a problem if you get too high level here?
Only if you get, like, absurdly over. Like, 1 or 2 is fine. Any more than that is actually problematic. Oh, that's not good. We might just be able to get away here, though. No. Oh, she lived.
Tanked it. But if she was 1 level lower, goodbye.
All right, so is he gonna? No, okay, he is gonna. I wasn't sure if he was gonna go around that bit of geometry there or get. Is that enough? That's enough. Okay, we don't need to pull the rest of those guys. And then we chuck the weapon we got into here, and it becomes the, I think, second best bit of equipment we can get in the game, but the best bit of equipment is a rare drop from the bonus dungeon, so we're not going to be seeing it. That went better than expected. Good grief.
That's one of the clinchers. The other clincher is right at the end, so look forward to that.
The dungeons before that can be pretty scary, but you're right, yeah, that's definitely the second scariest part of the run. So, the upshot of that is that now we can go absolutely bonkers with the drains because we are absurdly over level. Like, normally I try to keep it to 1 drain per mob, but now I can just drain everything in the mob for this entire dungeon.
And this is the part where being too over level actually becomes a bit of a problem. If you just one-shot everything, you don't get the opportunity to get everything you need out of them. But that's very rare.
It's very rare.
Right, since if you overlevel and you one-shot the enemies, you can't drain for those cores we need for the gates later on, right?
All right, I think we're going to do a speed tech here, aren't we? This is part of running on analog hardware. We're going to open the drive and close it, aren't we?
We're going to hope that gets it, otherwise I'm going to have to load a save.
Okay, watch this, fellas. Cross your fingers. Sometimes it gets it. This is just how gaming was.
Yeah.
And there we have it.
Would that have worked if this was a fat Fiesta?
No, that would not have worked.
Oh my god. I hope that doesn't keep happening.
That was the hardest encounter of the game.
That scared me.
Very low RNG roll for that to happen.
I've had a disk-based game crash on me in a marathon before. Not very fun. Do not recommend.
But that is why we bring safety saves. We got a whole stack of them, you might have seen.
Yeah, especially for a run that is this difficult and has this many different factors to take into account. Synrey's doing a fantastic job.
come on. That's fine as well. So the trees have sea cores, which we need one of, but they also drop another item that can be extremely useful for the final dungeon, just for safety reasons. So like I'll try to get it, but there's no guarantee I'll get it.
So at this point, we really want to see as little chests as possible, right?
Yeah, that's also fine. I mean, that's that sorted. Yeah, so these are the enemies where being over level is a problem, because as you saw there, I, you know, just barely left it with enough HP to not die in one hit. So that's 4 virus core A's.
Yeah, and there's that classic thing. You want to drain it soon.
I have enough ops for A cores left that I'm not gonna play that risky with it.
No, A cores are generally not a problem. B cores we need, you know, a ton of, and we have a ton of opportunities, but we push it sometimes.
Yeah, so these two here are B core enemies.
And you can usually tell what kind of core an enemy drops just by how big it is. If there's only one big enemy, it's going to drop C cores. If it's a medium-sized one like this, B cores, and the teeny little ones are A's.
Some of the A-B core ones are a little bit tricky to tell though. Like some of the bigger enemies are still A core for some reason. So normally you're not supposed to go this way, but I like taking this extra portal just for safety, just to get like a couple extra core opportunities, and the room next to it is a storeroom, so you can get a bunch of just consumable drops in there. Razor Axe is good to get. That'll save us some time later. We'll give it to Pyros. We can't give 2 of them the Pyros, unfortunately. Man, oh man, if he could dual wield though.
Knowing Pyros, I feel like he would try.
He would try. Yep, so that's what we wanted. It's just gonna make a couple of potential spawns in the last dungeon not completely terrifying if they decide to show up. They're not guaranteed to show up, but they've showed up in every single one of my practice runs, so as far as I'm concerned, they're guaranteed at this point. So the other thing worth noting about how the infection rating works is that it only goes back down again if Grandma/Kite is the person who kills an enemy. So you do have to keep tabs on who's getting the kills, because if it's one of your party members, it won't drop your infection rating. Which is, you know, a little bit problematic. But as soon as that EXP pops up, I know that the infection rating has gone back down and I'm safe to drain again.
And really, at this point, we don't care about how much XP we're getting, so long as we're not getting XP down.
Yeah, we get enough in the last couple of dungeons that we're set for the most part, unless, as he said, we get an unfortunate EXP down. It is possible to be too low level for the final boss fight, but it's never happened to me, touch wood. I think you'd have to be level 21, which is, it's just very, very unlikely that you... Why did I log out?
Well, while we're logging back into the world, do we have time for a quick donation?
Yes.
We do have a $15 cash donation that says, please scream Bingus Bongus. Thank you again for all of your generous donations. They're all going to a fantastic cause at Game on Cancer, which is a charity which funds early cancer researchers who are working across all areas of cancer research. Feel free to use the donation below the stream. I believe it's in the description. Or if you're in person here at PAX, you can go run over to my left, and we do take in-person donations as well. So get those donations in.
So Elk here is a bit jealous that Mia's spending all of her time with Grandma because of the thing that lets us use data drain. So he's asked us to this area so that he can try to get the... It's a bracelet. He wants the bracelet from us, but unfortunately we can't like take it off of our character to give it to him. It's not going to stop him from asking, no. And of course, while we're here, the area starts bugging out, so we go into the dungeon to get into the bottom of it. Get to the bottom of why it's bugging out, rather.
And the dungeon.
ごめん。今まで頼むよ。ああ。ダンジョン。アプリ。
So how long did the buffs last for?
I want to say it's 10 minutes real time. Might be a little under.
Yeah, sometimes you see the buffs start wearing out very rarely, and if that happens, you know, you've really got a problem. You've been in there far too long.
It's the only dungeon where you're expected to have your buffs run out is the last one. It's very uncommon for you to get to the bottom of it without having to rebuff at least once.
Yeah, and even if you do, you're going to do that because if you drop the buffs...
If you drop the buffs in the boss fight, you're dead. Aww. One day I'll get that drop. Just gonna start taking boxes for safety. So there's not much to do in this dungeon other than go for cores. The only things that spawn in here are A and C core enemies. So if you're good on those, you can get a lot of time back by just rinsing everything. But I'm down on both, so. Alright, that's 5 A's.
Alright, one more. And really, any drop is welcome because that adds to the cash pool.
So this boss isn't much to write home about. He usually takes out Elk, but there's, you know, we're kind of, as previously stated, we're so over-leveled that kind of everything at this point is still a pretty big joke. And I got some pretty lucky elemental crits there, so...
Does your party level up with you? Like when you do your grind fest to all your characters?
Yeah.
Like
So that's going back to what we were talking about earlier, that's the reason we don't get any long arm / spear users in this run, because we can't get any of them until after the grinding area, so they don't benefit from that huge chunk of EXP we get. And we get them at level 1, so it just takes way too long to catch them back up to speed. Whereas in all of the other games, you can get them as soon as you start the game, so you can get them up to speed immediately and it doesn't waste any time at all.
Very convenient that all of your party members also learn the same hack you do.
All right, so I think coming up is the first time we're going to have Pyros in the party, which means we get introduced to one of his little quirks, where he will hard override the field music with his theme song. Regardless of what field it is, even if it's like the final be-all, end-all, and boss area, it's still going to be blasting his music.
Because he's got it going over the microphone, right?
Yeah. He's got it blasting through Discord.
So what's the deal going on here? He's swallowed some paint and he's orange or something like that?
So I don't know what item he was expecting to get from Mia, but she's basically just briefed him, and because she's a hacker, she can kind of just do what she wants. She's given him thank you, an item that kind of locks his appearance to be that. So we're going into this dungeon to get the items that'll return him to normal.
But this is a plot-required dungeon, isn't it?
Yes, we need to do this.
Oh, right, so it's an important point that he is not orange.
Yes. So this dungeon's a little bit interesting in that there's a key item on each floor, but we're skipping the one on the first floor until later because it's the once we have all 4 of the key items, we just get warped out. So it's faster to come back for the one on the first floor afterwards than to get it now and to, you know, then go the whole way down to the bottom, for reasons I'll explain when we get down there. Just gonna quickly check how many B cores I've got. 3. That's not great. So if there's any time for donations, or if you want to tell everybody about who we are, this is a pretty good time because there's not much going on in this dungeon.
Absolutely. We do have a in-person $20 donation from Laz Ice Pie towards saving Mila. That's for the Hollow Knight run. Again, we do have a bunch of awesome incentives. Those are all listed down below. I don't believe any of them are left for today. We do have a bunch for tomorrow. If you're interested, we have stuff like the Tomba soundtrack bidding war. We have the pet or wave to Mila and Hollow Knight. We have bonus levels for Tropical Freeze that could be being run by literally anybody, you know, definitely not a personal run or anything like that. But again, all of the donations from the event do go towards Game on Cancer, which is just an incredible charity that we're so thankful to be partnered with. So please get those donations in. I'd love to have more to read on the air.
I don't know who got the kill there. I don't think it was me.
No, it was probably Pyros kill stealing.
That will have definitely gotten it back down though. So all of these supposed cures are just messing with his palette some more until we get the fourth one, which turns him back to normal. And then he gives us a absolutely terrible item that we sell for 50 gold rather than use because it's a stat down, a permanent stat down. I'm not even sure how he got it into the game, seeing as it's got his name on it.
Pyros has some pull apparently with the developers.
Evidently. Four. All right. So if we got the remedy on the first floor, and this was our last one, we'd get warped out. But now we can go check the treasure room for goodies, and then warp back to the field, and then go back into the dungeon and get the remedy from there. And it's a little bit faster, and it gives us a little bit more money to play around with for endgame. Trying to think, is there anything else we haven't touched on?
Pyros' Golden, the sequel. You must have liked it.
Not only is he golden, the sequel, his theme song has lyrics. It's like a Power Rangers theme song. It's amazing. Alright, so we're done here. I would like to have more than 4 B cores, but not much I can do about that. If I have to load a save, I have to load a save.
How many total cores do you need for the run?
I need 10 B cores. 5 will be, no, not 5. 6 will be enough to get me into all but the last dungeon. So the fact that I'm only on 4 is a little bit of an issue because it means that I'm, you know, going to be falling short twice, potentially.
And this is all just totally random based on what ends up showing up and what doesn't show up?
Yeah,
Based on
it's completely out of my hands outside of, you know, doing enough well, even doing enough drains is kind of outside of your hands because if the game doesn't give you good enough mobs, then...
And again, it's one of those things where if you get really good times, it means you're probably short on something else.
Yeah, if your early game is like 3 to 4 minutes ahead, something's gone wrong. And you're probably going to lose a lot more time later on.
Love that in RPGs when you can do things too well and something else has happened because of it that you're just behind and just doesn't even show in your times. It's one of those games that, like, you have, like, really fake splits when you do them, right? Where it's
yeah. I probably shouldn't even have the... I mean, having the splits is useful, but I probably shouldn't even have the for and against for the early game ones, because it's just completely pointless. Yeah, so A cores are good. Well, not, you know, I still need 1 more, but it's not worrying. But I would... And I'm down a C core still, too, aren't I? Jeez. So we couldn't get into that area because we're down a core we require for plot. So the next area we go into will be... sell that. Do not sell both of those. All right.
Oh, don't sell this diary.
I'm gonna sell it. I do not want a magical attack down. Are you kidding me?
Someone else is gonna buy that.
Good. I hope they enjoy it.
While we're doing some menu, we have time for a quick donation and an announcement, actually.
Oh, really?
We have now crossed $6,000 raised for Game On Cancer, which is incredible, thanks to a $10 donation from Team Mum saying, awesome show. Thanks for the run. And thank you again for all of your generous donations. And I will sit back and continue being here for this awesome run.
You sure you don't have anything else to talk about? Because this is another minute of mashing.
Come with a turbo controller.
Are turbo controllers allowed for this?
No.
No? Oh, gosh.
Oh, really?
No. I've tried convincing Hatchet, but they're not convinced you couldn't use it to spoof the move cancelling.
Oh, dear.
But no one set records for the second, third games, right?
Second and third have records. It's the fourth one nobody's run.
Okay, if you run the fourth one, you can bring a turbo controller.
That requires me routing the fourth one.
I'd say mutations, like, how much longer is mutation than infection?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I haven't seen a run of mutation in 5 years.
Yeah, I remember a friend of mine was messing with it after it got into Limit Break. The big, like, 4-way race happened at Limit Break in, gosh, the 2018, I want to say. And I know that, like, a bunch of them are messing around with mutation to, like, do a follow-up the year after, but it was like...
No, it didn't happen.
It was like I think it's like 3 hours, I want to say, but it's like everything that's like difficult in this run as far as like the cores and all of that is so much more difficult in mutations too.
Every single one ramps up, so we need, what, a little over 20 cores in this game. I did the maths for Quarantine, it was well over 100. And it was like, I just was like, yep, nope, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not routing this.
Everyone skips straight to GU. GU has a healthy speedrunning scene as well.
Yep, it's still going strong.
I imagine the access to it probably helps a lot as well. With like the since I mean it has even a PC version too.
Yeah,
so you
everyone
can do,
runs it on either Steam or PS5, I believe.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Someday we'll get the re-release of these, but I imagine the OVAs is still probably what's holding it back.
You hear that every time. Every time this game gets run, you get 100 people popping up. I freaking love .hack. So Bamco, keep an ear out.
They won't keep an ear out. Bamco don't care.
Okay, tell you what. The game is still here. Nothing is stopping you from playing WoW and installing viruses on your computer.
And
it's free.
Using WoW to install viruses on other people's computers. Don't actually do that. Don't install viruses on other people's computer. We do not condone.
No, do it on your own. Don't do this at home. Do it at a friend's house.
All right, so we give Peros here the Razor Axe we pulled earlier. Because it's gonna let him do some pretty severe damage to the boss at the end of this dungeon. And I'm just setting it to magic there because I don't want Peros to be using skills here, so I'm going to be using the magic command instead of the skills command. Right, so these guys.
All right, do you want me to? These menace, you have to drain because they have a move that just revives them. So because we got 2 of them, we can't kill them unless we drain one of them to turn it into a completely different enemy because they'll just keep reviving each other back and back and back.
And they cheat. It doesn't matter if, because if you die and you get revived, you come back with 0 SP and you can't use skills. That doesn't count for the enemies. They'll just keep chain reviving each other ad infinitum. It's really annoying.
And we have a bit of a love-hate relationship with them because they actually have some things that we like.
The ones that spawn in the last dungeon have the best weapon drops in the game, but they're also many years, so at the end of the day, they're still a pain in the butt.
And we need B cores, so we're doing this anyway.
Would be nice if those B cores would start to show up a little bit more.
Hey!
Well, that's the last day.
Yeah, we're done with those. Health is overrated. It's fine.
It's a dumb stat.
Alright, there isn't really much to talk about with this boss, other than if we're lucky, Peros Protect breaks it in 1 hit.
Are we going to be draining him for the C-core?
I should do it, yeah. I didn't think about that.
By the way, can you tell me about the flinching? Can you stun lock them?
You can stun lock enemies. I have no idea how it works. Okay, that's a C-core. We're good on those. It's just bees now. Yeah, if you... Occasionally when you do a physical swing on an enemy, you'll flinch them. I have no idea what the odds on it are. All I know is it's incredibly useful for the final boss if it happens. Because it stops him from absolutely wailing on us for half a second. So now we're going to log out and tell Black Rose that we have enough cores to get into the area we tried to get into earlier. Because she's also trying to get into the bottom of why, well, I guess at this point more than one person has fallen into a coma because of this whole virus business. So she's also trying to get to the bottom of it. So she's doing a bit of sleuthing in her own time. Doesn't really matter who we have for this one.
Oh, you gotta have Peros if only for the music.
Yeah, I'm just more saying that, like, you know, it's like, I kind of had a mind blank there, but it really doesn't matter who the third party member is for this dungeon. It's not good for EXP, and it's not good for drains at this point either, because we're good on A's. So I still need 6 B cores. I was going to write it down, but I forgot a pen, so I'm just going to have to try to remember that.
And that's what hacking used to look like back in the mid-2000s. When did this come out?
It was either 2003 or 2004.
Well, I got the box right here.
I'll look it up. Give me 1 second.
2003.
Yeah, so this dungeon's pretty good for donations if you've got any, because it's again, it's just I just mash everything in here.
Nope, at the moment we are still waiting on getting more of those donations. Again, please get more of those in. We are all raising money for Game on Cancer, which is a charity organization that funds early career cancer researchers who are working across all areas of cancer research. I'm sure just about everybody here has had a loved one, a family member, a neighbor that's been affected by cancer, as it affects pretty much everybody. So please go down. If you're watching live on Twitch, go to the description. If you're here in PAX in person, we do take in-person donations over to my left. Also, if you're here at PAX, we do also have pins, and the proceeds from those pins do go towards the charity as well. So if you're interested in those, again, over there to my left, and go say hi and get some donations in.
So throughout this dungeon, we're looking for the cook bile, aren't we?
Yep.
And we can only find those in the random little eggs that show up on the floor.
Or the skeletons, but they're less easy to grind. That's not good.
So I thought 2004 sounded a little late. In North America, you know, where I'm kind of from, it came out in February of 2003. Y'all got it a whole year later.
Of course we did.
In Australia. So.
Yeah, so that's a bit of an unfortunate mob to be short on SP for, but, you know, again, so over level it's not really an issue for us. So might be here for a while depending on how nice the cooked bile feels like being, but we do need this, so...
You gotta break all the eggs.
There we go, that wasn't that bad.
That was the secret. You gotta
I've definitely
complain.
had worse.
I don't even know what's going on here, man. I played this and I just lost it.
It makes more sense if you've watched .hack sign, but if you haven't, then yeah, it's not going to make any sense at all.
.hack's like deep lore is something.
It's one hell of an iceberg.
Yeah. It is like a really like awesome idea for the franchise though. Like you don't, one of the gimmicks of both like the anime and the game is that for the most part you never see the actual characters' faces, like what they actually look like. You only see the in-game avatars for characters and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Peros looks exactly like that.
Most likely. Complete with the comically oversized armor.
He has such a tiny head. Look at it. It's teeny.
Yes, and then we go back in. Yep. I remember my route. Excelente. So this is another bit of a low point. It's just a lot of plot and mashing, and then the game gets into the last third and really picks up difficulty-wise, because we catch back up. We're no longer over level, which means things start destroying us again.
Oh, we go under level, don't we?
Oh yeah, we're under level for the final boss fight. Not that it makes much of a difference, because even casually, if you don't know what you're doing, that final boss destroys you.
Yeah, just going off of that first enemy, the fact that you miss it and you're on parity with level you're in an area for that, it goes to show that you're really fighting against it.
I'd say the final boss of this game is like infamous even casually for like people losing at the level cap. Like,
oh, it's brutal.
And they do have this neat mechanic where there is a level cap that expands with every game. And you can bring your save file across the whole series.
It's basically like a 4-disc RPG, but the 4 discs were completely separate releases, and you can just start with whatever game you want. But you can bring a save from Infection all the way up to Quarantine.
That would probably actually be slower than you know, doing it with a fresh save, wouldn't it? Because they give you a bunch of gear if you start a new one.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever tested that one out.
And it will stay that way.
Because so the latter games start you with gear, but they don't start you with cores. So if you're playing the English versions, it might actually be faster to pull the save all the way through if you're doing a quadrilogy run. But if you're playing the Japanese version, it would probably be faster to just start a new save every single time. Because they do give you cores. The US version, of course, is harder because they felt like it, I guess.
it is kind of funny that like you can technically just start at any part in the series. Like you could just pick up 3 and just play it. Like imagine picking up like Final Fantasy VII and starting on like disc 3 just randomly. Like how much sense the story would make.
You start FF7 after the meteor is falling. It's like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, so that's the only portal in this dungeon, which is why we don't buff for it, because we just, there's no point. We just get here, there's a bit more plot, and then she points us towards an area that's similar to that one we were just in with Black Rose, where it's got a weird white room in the back of it. But the enemies here are actually scary, so we're gonna want to, you know, actually prep for that one. It's also the last really good spot to get B cores before I have to consider grinding, or just loading a save depending on where I'm at time-wise. I can get cores in the second to last area as well, but I try not to bank on that because the enemies that give them are scary. Like, they will absolutely waste you if you go for drains on them instead of just peppering them with magic from a distance. Actually, do I have enough B cores to get into this area? I do, don't I? No, I should. I think I'm okay. No. All right.
We're doing it live.
I'm behind. I can actually grind. I'll try grinding for that, and then if we have issues again, I'll load a save. But I think that's good. We're pretty good on time.
Yeah, we usually end around the 150 mark, but we can't bank on that.
That's 150 if the cores are nice. So we have just within the community, we've got a list of areas that are good to go for backups in Marathon. If you're trying to go for cores, backup cores, and an actual, PB attempt, you're just better off resetting. Like, it's just a lost cause at that point. All right, one more and then we can go into this area. All right. So as soon as I can see the map, I can gate back out and we can go to that area I wasn't able to get into because I've got all the keys now. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, but that requires me getting 4 more cores in the next 2 dungeons, so we're probably going to have to pay that area another visit in all likelihood.
That was nice and quick at least, though.
I've been there for 15 minutes before for 1 core. It knows. The game knows.
Dude, where's my core? I like how realistic it is where it says, you've got new mail, and we're just going to ignore that.
We've had new mail since about 10 minutes into the run. I'm not going to check it. It's just Helba telling us how the cores work. Helba is an extremely good hacker. We won't see her because she only shows up in cutscenes in this one. You can get her as a bonus character in the last game, and all of her stats are capped, including the ones she doesn't use. Which, makes you wonder why she doesn't bother helping, but...
I mean, if you're going to cap one stat by cheating, you might as well cap them all. Like, what's the point of, stopping there?
Whoops, didn't mean to use 2 of those, but it's, no big deal. I have to do a shop after this anyway. So, those little flames give you a random buff. It just happened to give me one I'd already used there. I like grabbing them because occasionally they give you regen, which is something you can't get as a skill in Infection, I'm pretty sure. It's just nice to have. Man, 4 enemies and none of the ones I need. Of course not.
That was a really good example there, the fact that even you get stunned by skills used on you, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, it is kind of funny when you're fighting a boss and you get hit by a spell, and it's like you want to get out of the spell, and there's just nothing you can do but just eat the damage from the spell, or like I think you can heal in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's worse if you're like half a centimeter out of melee range, so you can't even hit them while they're hitting you. So we want to be really careful with these enemies because they not only hit very hard, they can paralyze you. And if everyone in the party is paralyzed, then you just have to wait for somebody to... you just have to wait for the timer to run out on somebody before anybody can move again. It's quite scary.
And it's actually more likely to happen than it might seem because the party members don't care if your entire party is paralyzed. They will prioritize healing health first.
Yeah, you could have 2 people paralyzed and 1 person with maybe, you know, a tiny sliver of health missing, and your party member will prioritize the health rather than the fact that 2 of your party members are paralyzed. It's quite annoying. Speaking of... Not get stuck on a level geometry. Let's not get stuck on a level geometry again. Am I getting lost? I am getting lost. It's right here. Come on. If both of these guys drop B cores, I'm good. No, alright. I'm gonna risk it. Because there's one more portal, but I don't think it can spawn the living dead enemies because of how the enemy pool system works. Every time you go down a floor in a dungeon, the spawn pool changes a little bit. So enemies you were seeing on higher floors won't show up on lower floors and vice versa. It is a little bit weird. It doesn't entirely make sense. Like, it's not always, oh yeah, you get stronger enemies the further you go down. Sometimes it decides it's going to do the complete opposite. It's very weird.
So about how many chances do you have to get those missing B cores still?
I've got one more dungeon, but there's no guarantee they'll spawn in it. So we'll see, I guess.
And did I count right? We need 2?
Yes. So that shop was entirely for supplies for the last dungeon. We do need that many healing drinks.
Yeah, did I see you just 95?
We cap it. Yeah, no, 99. You get 99. We need that many.
Nice little teaser of what's to come.
Alright, so with any luck, the B cores are nice here, but I'm fully expecting to just have to quickly pop back into bursting past over Sea of Sand. As I said, it totally just sounds like the Twitch clip names when you say them out loud. So we're bringing Elk here because having a mage is nice, and he's got just a slightly better set of elemental skills than Mistral does for this. It doesn't really matter which of the two of them you take though, as long as you're taking one of them. So I am gonna probably shut up a bit for this dungeon because it can be very dicey depending on what the spawns are.
Thankfully, it's not a really long one. You have depths of anywhere between 3 and 5. I don't think you can get a dungeon any shallower than that.
Any deeper, and yeah, not in this one. In the later ones, yes, absolutely. But not in this one, thankfully.
I'm not playing those.
We're not doing the 104 deep bonus dungeon in quarantine.
Life was better before you told me about that.
How long does that take to do casually? I actually haven't played Quarantine.
I don't remember how long it took me, but I know it took me more than one attempt because it's, So we mentioned earlier that if you use data drain too much, you can run the risk of a game over. That dungeon has bugged enemies just in the spawn pool, so if it feels like it, it can just force you to game over. It's kind of rude.
Very fun.
So these armor shoguns are the enemy that we want to see to get the B cores, but they're also pretty beefy and pretty dangerous.
And they're not dropping them anyway. Because of course they're not. There's only one more portal in this dungeon as well. And it's not even a shogun, so we're gonna have to go back to the grinding area. So the reason we've come into this dungeon, to very briefly touch once again on the plot, is that Meg here was told a location by a friend of hers where he said, oh, I saw this girl being chased by this really weird monster.
And then
he stopped responding to emails and is presumably in a coma. So we're like to Meg, hey, can you tell us this keyword so we can get into this area, so we can get to the bottom of what's going on here? And she was like, I'm not going to tell you the words, but they're on the board. But by the time we log in and check the board, the admins have already removed it. Which would be an issue if not for the fact that Help is here and she sends us the words in an email. So we just we do this thing. Yeah, we don't do this at any other point in the run. If you log into the world splash screen and then back out again, it refreshes your emails. It's probably more useful casually than anything else, but it is a thing. But I am gonna have to very quickly go back into. I'm just trying to think. I'm tempted to go back into the leveling area real quick first to get the rating back down and then go grinding.
You did rack it up, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I was trying to get the cores and they weren't dropping. Yeah, so I am really quickly going to do that. I'm just going to drop back into that area we were in back at the 40-minute mark to take advantage of the fact that beating up enemies stronger than us drops the infection rating by a lot, and the fact that the lower the infection rating, the higher chance we have of B core drops. Because if I go into the grinding area now, I just run the risk of messing myself up even more for no benefit. We get more of Pyrrhus' incredible theme, though.
I was going to say, shout out to the Pyrrhus music in the background.
So that even just that might have been enough. Yeah. It doesn't take much.
And once we get these cores, are we at the final dungeon?
Yes, these are the only 2 cores we need. It wasn't that mean this time. I've certainly had worse. Not at a marathon, mind you, but I've seen worse at a marathon, so...
Well, while we're loading into Theta bursting past over Aquafield, we do have a $40 donation from Hitchy with no comment. Again, thank you all so much for all of your donations. We are now at $60,083. Again, all the donations going to Game on Cancer.
60,000?
Sorry, 6,000. Words are hard sometimes. Let's make it 60,000. That sounds fantastic, but we'll start with our way, or getting a little higher. Oh, did we get one?
No, we didn't. I was just checking the time because depending on how long this takes, I might just load.
Oh, gotcha. I heard the clapping. I thought somebody... All right. But yes, we are at $6,083 for Game on Cancer, which again is an incredible number, but we can do so much more good over the course of this weekend. So let's get those donations in.
Oh, that's Tron. That's bad.
But that's a B core. That's good. Hey, Grandma, why did Black Rose die?
Don't worry about it.
Wow, I can't believe Peros would do that.
Come on. All right, we're done.
We are so back.
So, I've already done the shop for the final... Son of a... I've already done the shop for the final dungeon, but because I got so much extra drops from the grinding, I'm gonna quickly just go and buy some more supplies, because the more we've got, the less dangerous it is.
I say legitimately almost cannot be safe enough for how this final fight is.
The safety save I've got for the final dungeon is absurdly overprepped, because it was just a run where I got so short-handed on cores that I just ended up with so much money. And it still somehow finished under 2 hours. I don't entirely understand it. But yeah, we don't like doing the shops in this this hub because the item shop is all the way back out here. But it's still faster than loading into the other server and then loading back in.
It's nice that at least even if you do miss like the cores, like those spears were worth a ton of money. It looked like there. So.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, the PS2 doesn't like this hub much either. It's a bit laggy out towards the back of it.
Are there any like differences between the different PlayStation models for this game, or does it all run pretty much the same no matter what?
I don't know. I have been meaning to do load time tests for the longest time, but I've only got one Slim that works, so I wouldn't I wouldn't be heaps.
And considering we let people run an emulator.
The main thing I've been wanting to check is roughly how much time emulator saves. I know it's in the minutes, but I don't know exactly how much it is. Anyway, I am mostly going to be probably mostly quiet for this dungeon because it's got to be a lot.
It's a deep dungeon. It's got menace. It's got lots of tough enemies.
It's got lots of magic users. And we have 2 party members who don't tank magic very well.
And it's got Peros.
I was saying it also has one of the hardest final bosses in all of JRPGs, so...
Are the other discs like this?
I'll be honest, I don't think any of them are as hard as Scaife until you get to Korbanik, which is the very, very last boss of all 4 games. That one can be pretty brutal, but I don't think any of them are as difficult as Scaife is up until that point.
I say it's hard to understand just how big of a difficulty spike Scaife actually is for this game as well.
I mean, you know, it's even though the speedrun certainly, like, we go into it knowing what we're doing, it's definitely one of those things where we do not understate how difficult it is. It will be obvious once we get down there just how brutal this boss fight is. I mean, you know, if it wasn't obvious already by the amount of buffs I'm using. Yeah, that last one's so loud.
Yeah, I haven't had that with headphones.
Oh, that's a bad mob. Free Moo Guardians? Are you kidding me?
All right, the Moo Guardians are strong, they're nasty, they hit hard, and we do have an elemental super effectiveness against them. That's about the only thing we have that's good about them.
Ow.
Yeah, thankfully they're targeting me and not the other 2.
So what's the reason for the 2 party members you took here?
So it's mainly for the Scaife fight, because of how the protect break works. Again, there are basically, think of an enemy as having 3 separate health bars. It's got its actual health, and then it's got a protect break physical and a protect break magical. You know, if either of the protect break gauges hit 0, an enemy is broken, but they are separate. So bringing a mage here wouldn't do much for the final boss fight because they just wouldn't be doing damage, really. And again, as we said, these are just the best 2 physical attackers we have because Mia is our only other option and she's just not very good.
All right, and the Menhirs here have 2 drops. They have the Master's Axe, which we'll give to Pyros. Was that the rare drop?
No,
no.
Shiki's a rare drop.
Right. The other drop, which is rare, which we will go for, is Black Rose. That makes a real difference in the final boss.
Yeah, it's Black Rose's best weapon in the whole game, and she's still on her starting sword, so it's a huge upgrade if we get it. Just for safety. The red scissors here can also drop the Master's Axe, but because we've already got it, I'm just not going to bother.
And we don't have a way to really take them out that fast, do we?
No, we don't have any fire skills, unfortunately.
Can't attack the weak point for massive damage. Now we can get our party members to heal us here, but there's a limit to that, isn't there?
Yes, they have 5 of each consumable, I think. Roughly. And we want to be saving, well, so we don't mind them using their HP ones willy-nilly, but we want them to be saving their status recovery items for the final boss fight. For reasons. I really wish they'd stop killing it.
All right, and here's the last floor before we reach the boss, which takes up the entire 5th floor.
And this is what we got those helpful drops for earlier, because there are enemies that can spawn on this floor that are weak to water and they're really hard to take down otherwise.
And here
there's the mini-ears.
Yep, here you get to see why we don't like getting 3 at once.
Ooh.
And there's the rare drop. Did you get a debuff there?
Okay. So, again, funny thing with how the status effects in this game work. At any point when they're cast, and this includes for data drain effects, they just have a chance of whiffing. So you'll get the text that says, oh, you know, you were paralyzed, but you weren't actually paralyzed because the status whiffed. So that's what happened there. So I kind of lucked out a bit.
But that only applies to status moves. It doesn't go for things like healing.
No, the debuffs will always hit, and the healing will always hit.
Imagine healing for full health and whiff.
This is a really bad mob. Because the red scissors have paralysis skills. But they're being nice about it. Being very nice about it. I was fully expecting at least somebody to get frozen there. Oh, that's an ogre. So this is the reason we have the water skills. Because if we do not want to be in melee range against those guys, they will do most of my HP in one hit.
Another one?
No. I think I'm going to make it to the bottom without needing to rebuff.
Which means you will. You better do it. If you don't rebuff, it will drop mid-boss fight.
Well, no, I will rebuff. It just means I don't have to rebuff twice.
Of course, of course. But that's just general advice.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, all right. We're going to have to heal as well. So we put on all of our physical defensive equipment because we will need it.
Keep an eye on that health potion number, by the way. 91 going in. We'll see what that is coming out.
All right. Oh, and the speed drum, of course.
All right, something tells me you're going to be quiet for this one.
Yeah, because I need to concentrate. If people pay attention to health bars, they will see why this boss is considered difficult.
Because even casually, you don't have the time to heal it all off.
So this is Scaife.
And as you can see, when he hits you, it's hard. So we use those health potions liberally, and we like it when he misses like that. And you'll notice that he's also bugged. His health bar does not go down. So this fight is split into 2 phases before we get to drain him and after, which are very distinct in how they play out. For now, we just need to focus on actually getting that data drain, so we're going to be doing as many physical attacks as we can to get him into that protect break state. And that's why we brought Black Rose and Pyros here, because everyone here does physical damage. We'll get that faster. But he just does incredible damage to everyone, to the point where if you were healing with the skills that you have, you would not heal it fast enough.
I should also note that if you enter this, if you are unfortunate enough to enter this fight with low enough level, he will one-shot you.
All right, and this is his special move here. He goes no you, and
uses data drain on us.
And so Sin usually gets a pretty clever rebuff on the speed if we time things right. when he uses an attack, we can apply our buffs and kind of overlap them. So while he's casting his move here, we're buffing.
Because we can't move, so we might as well overlap the animations.
And speed makes such a big difference because you physically need to be there to hit him. And he will target any of the party members, but
He will target whoever's closest.
But because we're, you know, up in his grill.
Because we've got the lowest range, we're usually the closest. Like, we have to be closer than either Black Rose or Pyros to actually hit him, so more often than not, we're the one he's swinging at.
But sometimes he will hit, you know, Pyros with the data drain, in which case, lol, Lamau.
All right, so that's... I have to catch him.
All right, so we're going to use the same trick that we used in the leveling area, where we get people to lock him with their skills. If we do it right here, he won't be able to move, he won't be able to do anything. But the way we need to do that is to overlap the party members' skills. So at all times, someone is locking him.
So this is way scarier than it looks, because this phase is actually scarier than the first one. Because if he gets out, he will move around the field at Mach speed and constantly use this AoE that does a massive chunk of damage. And you just, even with the menuing, you just can't keep up. He just destroys you before you have a chance to blink. Time is coming up, by the way. When Scaife runs out of HP, it's time. So, time.
Right on.
Yeah, sub 2 in a marathon. That's pretty good.
Yeah, 156.18 with the grinding and the very poor core or B core block. That's an incredible run. And again, you see that final boss, just how difficult that is.
Yeah, so I think we went into that with, what was it, like 91 health drinks, and we came out with 30 something.
Yeah, a good 50 used, 50, 60. And we do have in-game time. Do we use that?
We do use that, but it wasn't a great run, so I don't care about the IGT. So if we want to get the next runner up here, I'm happy to hand off.
Yeah, I will get the next set of runners in. Next, don't go anywhere. We do have Balatro. You know, contribute to that addiction that I'm sure everybody here has. And it should be a great time. Also notably, this will be my last run on host shift. I'm going to make way for the lovely Lacey Stripes. If you enjoyed seeing me, feel free, show up tomorrow around, I want to say it is at about 3 o'clock local time. I'll be doing Tropical Freeze. Definitely drop by, say hello. Should be a great time.
All right, 2 hours later, and it's like I never left. Next up, we've got Balatro with Kuiper Bowl. We're doing 3-deck random seed skipless, so stick around for that. All right, just while we're here, we'll just might plug a couple of incentives that we have running for tomorrow. There are no more left for today. This is the last run of the night, but we will be starting again tomorrow from... You'd reckon I prepared the time beforehand, but apparently I did not see that far into the future. 9 a.m. we'll be starting with Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion, and the donation incentives that we have running for that. For Tomba, we have original versus remastered soundtrack, so just depending on which soundtrack that you wanted to hear, you might want to donate towards that. In Hollow Knight, we have, it's listed as save/kill Myla, but we know that we're really deciding on whether we're going to give her a little pet or if we're going to say hi to her from a distance. So there's that one there, and at the moment Pet Myla is at $25. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, that's for showcasing the bonus levels. There's about 6 of them in total, some of which have the swaggiest, most fun levels to speedrun. I did not say that, that was written down. Rumble Roses has one, which has to have 2 audience members fight it out. We've got about $150 left in that incentive. So just again, we'll have Balatro up in the next couple of minutes. All right, we're going to throw it over now to Balatro by Kuiper Bowl, 3-deck random seed. Take it away.